Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I particularly want to thank our City Council President, Sherri Lightner, Councilmember Mark Kersey, who is chair of our Infrastructure Committee. We have our Chief Financial Officer who is here today, Mary Lewis, and our Director of Public Works, James Nagelvort. I want to thank all of you for being here. This is an exciting day, and everybody who is here today has been a champion for improving the infrastructure for years. And I know that they're all excited about the improvements that we're talking about here today that's going to benefit every single neighborhood in the city of San Diego. And I want to thank everybody who's come together over the last several months as we've been looking at ways to improve efficiency, better use of our tax dollars, to making sure that we're delivering more projects on time, if not earlier, with the quality that San Diegans expect and deserve. You know, at the State of the City address, I pledged to make street repair our city's #1 infrastructure priority. And I'm following through on that today by announcing that we're going to double our road repair efforts throughout the city. And when I took office, the city repaired about 150 miles of streets a year. Next year, we are going to repair more than 300. And it's the first step to fulfilling a promise to repair 1,000 miles of streets over the next 5 years. And that represents more than 1/3 of our entire street network across the city. These street repairs will be financed with a combination of revenue streams, like Transnet, the gas tax, Proposition 42, as well as bond proceeds. And while we are aggressively moving on street repairs, there are a lot of other things that we're going to be doing to improve the city's infrastructure program. For the past several decades, the city hasn't invested properly in infrastructure. Because of that, the projects that we have done have often lacked the proper planning. And as a result, so I think everyone here knows, we have a huge infrastructure backlog that has built up over many years. While we not be all of the folks in the generation that caused this problem, we can be the people in the generation that fixes this problem. So how do we do that? At the State of the City in January, I said, if you wrote the city a check for $1 billion and said, go fix all of our neighborhoods, the city couldn't do it right now. We have to first fix how the city manages its projects and our money. The city has literally hundreds and hundreds of projects on the books, but they're not prioritized according to real world and real neighborhood needs. We're going to change that. There are tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars that have been languishing in accounts and projects that are years away from being built. But we know that our neighborhoods need help now. Simply put, it is time that we repair the city's repair program. And today, I'm introducing a reform package with more than 20 improvements that will ensure that projects get done faster and taxpayer dollars are spent more efficiently. And once implemented, projects like street repairs will be delivered 20% faster on average. It's all about effectively managing the way the city spends our hard-earned tax dollars. And these reforms will focus on technology to increase program efficiency, reduce bureaucracy, and provide better financial oversight and cash management. And there are a lot of great details in this reform package, but the bottom line is this. We are going to be able to finish projects more quickly and efficiently. And these are common sense solutions that will lead to more dollars being spent that benefit every single neighborhood across the city of San Diego. And now I'd like to introduce our City Council President, who's been a champion of infrastructure, Sherri Lightner, to say a few words. Sherri?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me to be here today. In the 6 years I've been on council, I've heard time and time again from our city residents that street resurfacing and infrastructure improvements are some of the things that matter most and greatly impact our everyday lives. We've made great strides to improve the way our city builds infrastructure projects, and we've resurfaced thousands of miles of streets, but we still have a long way to go. The improvements being proposed today are intended to streamline the way the city handles infrastructure projects, saving time and money by ensuring these projects get built faster and more efficiently. I appreciate the efforts of staff to examine what we're doing currently and how we can make it better. Some of our best efficiency improvements have come from our amazing city staff who are most familiar with what it takes to get the job done. I encourage staff to continue to find process-oriented solutions, and I do look forward to these items coming to Council's Infrastructure Committee where they can be more fully vetted and then moving on, before they do move on to the City Council. I want to thank you again, and with that I'd like to introduce the chair of our Infrastructure Committee, Councilmember Kersey.
Very good.
Very good. Well, thank you, Council President Lightner, as well as Mayor Faulconer for having me here today. 2015 really is a momentous year for the city when it comes to infrastructure. Not only did we release the city's first ever multi-year infrastructure investment plan in January, but with today's announcement, we are committed to investing more in infrastructure than we have in decades, doubling the investment over the last couple of years. Our constituents will see the city ramping up repairs and getting them done more efficiently and more effectively. With nearly $4 billion worth of work that needs to be done in our communities, the reforms being proposed today are critical as the city spends the next decade rebuilding our neighborhoods. These are common sense reforms such as putting contractor bidding online, eliminating duplicative environmental reviews, and establishing better coordination between city departments. All these efforts will save time and save money, getting projects done faster and at lower costs, saving taxpayer money, and cutting red tape. I'm looking forward to hearing more about these reforms at the Infrastructure Committee next week, and I just want San Diegans to know that this mayor and this council are united in rebuilding San Diego. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, guys. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can do stuff one-on-one, whatever you'd like.
Mayor, how long before you can actually implement? I mean, this is great news, I think, to the average citizen, but realistically, how long will it take for you to implement all of these things that you're talking about?
Well, we're moving forward on these changes right away, and that's the good news. And there's a combination of some that we'll be able to make changes right away. There's some that will require City Council approval. But the fact that this council is united, everyone understands how critically important not only infrastructure is, Artie, but really when it comes to the focus of street repair, and street repair. Councilmember Kersey did a series of community town halls in every single area of the city as chair of the infrastructure. And you know what every community said was the #1 infrastructure priority? Street repair. And that's not surprising to anybody that drives around our city streets. So this package will help make sure that we get to work right away, but also for the long term, that we have processes in place that allow us to deliver these projects quicker.
Okay, now the assessments I think started this a couple of weeks ago. How long, before we get information from that assessment? And I guess, yeah, you have my attention when you say street repairs, but I want to see, these potholes out there being filled now. So how long is it going to take before we actually see real world?
Yeah, I think starting over the next several months, San Diegans are going to start to see a difference, not only in things like pothole repair, but also as you see, more streets being fixed. And that's just the bottom line. And as you know, we changed the way we've done potholes in the city, saying those just took effect a couple of months ago, where instead of crews maybe doing one pothole in one area, then going to, across the city to do another one, saying go out to one neighborhood all at once, fix not only the potholes that were on the list, but they have the flexibility to say if you drive by another pothole, fix it while you're out there. That's the type of common sense things that we're changing, that making sure that we're delivering, as I said, our ability to do projects a lot faster.
I think you alluded to this in your State of the City address, that you have the funding for a project, but you can't go ahead and actually start making the street repair unless you have all of the funding.
That's right, Sasha. Yeah.
And so could you explain how that works and what you want to do to reform that process.
Yeah, and literally this is going to be a partnership between, the council and everybody, myself. We have over 900 capital improvement projects, 900, some of which who have been on the books and have money sitting around them for 10 years. We're saying, we know our neighborhoods need help now. Let's consolidate those. Let's have that discussion. Let's prioritize those so we actually get projects done and across the finish line. That is, I think what everybody wants to see happen. That's exactly what we're going to do. Prioritize, cut the red tape, and making sure that we're focusing on those projects that we can make a real difference on right now and spend those dollars that have been languishing in accounts that should have been going for neighborhood infrastructure repairs. This will allow us to do that.
What's the impediment to spending the money that you say is languishing? Why can't they be spent?
But we have to have that focus and that priority to say we're actually going to move forward on these projects to get them done now, rather than having dollars that sit around literally in hundreds of projects with no clear funding stream and funding source. That's why it's important that we come together, prioritize those, making sure we're looking at all the revenue sources that we can get them done now, cut the bureaucracy, change the way we're doing some cash management approaches at the city that will allow us to do it much faster, much better. Those are part of the 20 reforms that we're doing. So as you look at changing the way we do business, making it more efficient, better use of our cash management practices, what does that all add up to? It adds up to more projects that we're actually doing in the neighborhoods, rather than just having things on a drawing board that aren't delivering real help to our neighborhoods now.
So is that to say that you'll start certain projects without complete funding in place? Because when you talk about underfunding projects, that makes people a little nervous in this city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Mary, why don't I have you come in and talk about some of the things we're going to be doing, for example, on commercial paper, our Chief Financial Officer.
We will absolutely have funding for projects we start, but we don't have to have all the cash available. If we have a reliable revenue stream like Transnet, we can get started on a contract. James spends 20% of the money, maybe in the first 80% of the project time. He needs a lot of money at the end when they actually build it. So we will be able to certify projects to get started because we have a reliable income stream coming in that we will encumber and control for that.
Okay, so that's definitive, no doubt about it. That money is going to be guaranteed.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's a change that, frankly, should have happened a long time ago, Marty. And we're making that now.
What are residents going to be able to do to know, like, hey, we want these problems taken care of? When are they going to get fixed? Are the people in neighborhoods going to be given a heads up? Is it like,
yeah, well, you're going to see the movement on street repair, as I said, starting in the next several months. And that is good news. I don't care what neighborhood you live in the city of San Diego, you know the conditions of our roads. You know that we need to be doing this, and that's part of the commitment that I've made that said 50% of all new revenue that comes into the city for our budget every year will go right back in to neighborhood infrastructure. Council strongly supported that last year. We're going to see even more dollars this year. So neighbors are not going to only see an improvement in streets starting in the next several months, but we're going to have that conversation on prioritizing projects that make sure that it, like I said, it comes off plans and a drawing board that have been sitting there for 8, 9, 10 years to actually get those projects done in the neighborhoods, and the council members will be taking the lead on all that.
Will people in those neighborhoods be able to see dates?
Absolutely, because that'll be part of the council process.
Is the city going to be able to...
Go ahead.
Will the public be able to have input on which things to prioritize?
Yeah, they will, and that'll be part of the council discussion, not only in infrastructure, but at the council hearing itself. Absolutely.
1,000 miles in 5 years is a lot of
It is, yeah.
Is the city going to be able to handle that? Are you going to subcontract? There's going to be job opportunities?
It is, yes, is the answer. And that's one of the things that we're able to move quickly on. You know, we have a lot of great work from contractors. This will be more jobs for folks. I'm ensuring that the work that's being done is to the level of quality that we deserve and that we expect here in the city of San Diego. And when we have these dollars in place, the bottom line is you'll see a much better result of the type of streets and infrastructure that we deserve. And as we come out of, you know, not only the recession, but as we see the benefits for a lot of the financial reforms that all of us have worked so hard on, that's where those dollars should be, right back into neighborhood services. That's the priority we're making and committing to today.
So was this money just kind of sitting in other accounts that weren't going anywhere? And is that not like robbing Peter to pay Paul, or how does that work?
As I said, part of it is going to be, we'll help consolidate dollars that have been there. Part of it is a better use of the dollars we have from our lease revenue bonds, from Transnet, Prop 42, new revenue that's coming into the city. What we're saying is now our priority is going to be street repair. And San Diegans are going to see that difference as we move forward on paving those 1,000 miles of streets. It should have been done before. And all of us see the difference, what happens when you drive over roads that have not had that focus and neglect. If you neglect your roads, everybody knows it.
Mayor, one thing I've noticed here is that some streets are paved, it's beautiful, easy to ride over, and then a few months later, they're carved up because they've got to do some underground work. Is there anything that you can do to avoid that, to maybe do that underground work so that the street will stay paved?
Yeah, great example. One of the things that we're also changing, and Councilmember Kersey and President Lightner have been supportive of this and leaders on this, is what we call a one dig policy. So you go out and Councilman Kersey alluded to this. Before, the city would have a capital improvement project budget that was 1 year. We've said for the first time we're having a 5-year plan, because then that knows the projects that you're going to be doing for the next 4 and 5 years, to your point. So you plan that you're not digging up the street 1 year and then going back 2 years later. You look at what streets need sewer and water, what streets need utility work. You plan that to actually interact together. And then when you're done, you go back and you repave the street curb to curb. And you don't have what we've seen too often in San Diego, I think probably all of you have seen it, is a big strip down the middle, right? That erodes over time. We're going to stop that process. All going to be curb to curb, and the one dig policy helps us make that happen. You can do that if you actually plan ahead. And that's part of what this is all about. You can't just do things 1 year to the next year. Let's be smart about that. Let's plan out 5 years. Let's have that support. Let's have that discussion. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing.
There's a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
And I like this comprehensive approach, but what about the sidewalks in that area?
Yeah, Sasha, we're doing an assessment on the sidewalks as well, not only of streets, as we know, to Artie's point earlier, but we're also doing a sidewalk assessment, which we're going to have the results of that in a couple of months, as well as city facilities and buildings. So we will have the true amount of the work that we need to be doing. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your help, and we'll all be available for any one-on-ones. Appreciate everybody being here today.